We can, but then they'll say that we're trying
Good evening, everyone. The Lapeers Community School Board of Education meeting is now called to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Whitfield, would you please lead us through the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Whitfield. So that brings us to the introduction of our new staff. So I'll turn it over to you, Superintendent Andre.
Thank you, Madam President. Welcome to our favorite meeting of the year, our opportunity to introduce the board and our community to our brand new instructional staff. Joining Lapeer Community Schools this year, we have a number of our new folks who are able to join us this evening. We're so pleased to be able to introduce them to you. Now, for those sitting in the audience who thought you could just come sit here and be introduced without having to say anything, and just quietly sneak out after we called your name, you'd be wrong. So what we do here at LCS, this predates my superintendency, predates your presidency, many decades of history that you are about to participate in. When I call your name, you're to stand up. You're going to tell us where you went to school, that your undergrad from. If you worked anywhere else prior to Lapeer Community Schools, so your immediate career kind of preceding today, and then what your assignment will be at LCS. And then we will respond accordingly, depending on if we like said university that you attended or not. And so, and now that I think about this tradition, I'm not sure how great it is to publicly ridicule and shame people their first board meeting, first official day, but
That's fine.
we're going to do it anyway. We're going to do it anyway, because we like to have fun. So,
Can't break us.
listen, this is a family.
That's right.
It's a family. And so, without further ado, we're going to begin. Go down the list here. We have with us this evening Angela Benchley. Angela. Is she not here? She's not here. Okay, well.
She heard what you were going to do.
She did. She snuck off the bat. Alexis Daniels. Am I 0 for 2 already? Okay, okay. Jennifer Hall. Jennifer!
I grew up over here, and I went to Mount Flint,
Yay, go blue!
and I have taught 22 years in Kersley. This is my first year here, and I'm teaching language arts at Rollmore and Denver.
Awesome. Wonderful. Welcome. So, went to Lapeer, U of M, pretty solid credentials right out of the gate team.
Kersley too. I'm a Kersley alumni. So.
Did you know that? No. Abigail Hagen. Man, we are struggling tonight. I didn't see Denise here. Oh.
Nope. No, she's not really looking.
Jennifer Leonard.
What did you say to these people?
I'm married. Madison McKaylee. I know she's here. Yay!
Hi everybody, my name is Madison. I also went to Lapeer, graduated from Lapeer. I did my first year at U of M Flint, finished my undergrad and master's at Western Michigan University.
Yeah, roll the boat.
It's my first year teaching, and I'm social studies at Zemmer and Roadmore.
Madison has to work at Lapeer Community Schools because 75% of the family does. Yes. Limited options.
It's great to have alum.
It is. I'm not going to tell the big backstory, don't worry. Alexis Schlauer. Tiffany Slates.
You must have really scared me.
I think you did.
I tell you what. Lindsay Taylor. We got one.
went to Lapeer Community Schools. This is actually my 12th year working for Lapeer, but my first year teaching at Lynch.
Awesome.
Kindergarten. CMU.
Fire up, kids. All right. We didn't have one wrong answer tonight.
We
Didn't have
great
one wrong
answers.
answer.
And,
Well, I think we missed
well,
80%.
yeah, we'll bring that back next month, but
Okay.
Lindsay also has to work here. Right? No choice, right, Mom?
Yeah, sorry.
No, honestly, it's great to have graduates, and you know, it's so funny because some of these people were students when I started, and that is right, very rewarding when we can see that change. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Okay, back to you, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, everyone.
Okay, I don't see any public comment for this evening, so we'll head right into our reports. So we'll start with our Finance and Operations Committee report. So Dr. Watson, would you please share with us?
Certainly. So the Finance and Ops Committee meeting on August 23rd, 2 o'clock, we met via Zoom. Well, not we. Summer Putnam and Lisa Novak, as well as others, were Matt Wandry, Erica Ingalls, Mark Rader, Julia Persky from Bart Mello, Christy Menino, and Tiffany Stacy from Plant Moran. They called the meeting to order at 2, and they discussed the pre-audit discussion, which Tiffany Stacy from the district's independent auditing firm, Plant Moran, discussed with the committee the pre-audit communication to the board. This included the auditor's responsibilities under generally accepted auditing standards and the planned scope and timing of the audit. The discussion also provides the board an opportunity to communicate privately with the auditors on matters that may impact the audit. At 2:06 p.m., Matt, Erica, Mark, Mary, and Julia left the Zoom meeting so that auditors could discuss any audit concerns with the board members. They returned at 2:12 for the full group to continue the meeting. They will communicate with us when they will be ready to present the audit report to the full board at either the October or November meeting. Bond change orders number 16, bid pack 5.2, new water main at bus garage. Bart Mello recommends the issuance of a change order to Eagle Excavation to install a new water service at the bus garage for an amount not to exceed $42,385.77. It was confirmed that the existing 3-inch main water line for the bus garage was leaking somewhere underneath the building. After exploring a few different solutions, it was decided that the best choice was to abandon the existing water line and install a new 4-inch water service for the building. This change will require Eagle Excavating to excavate, furnish, and install a new 4-inch water service on the east side of the bus garage. The exiting 3-inch water line will be cut and kept at the road per the request of the city of Lapeer. It was the consensus of the committee to recommend full board approval at tonight's meeting, and they adjourned at 2:26.
Okay, any questions or concerns? The only question that I have is, Mary, is this something that should be on our action items for tonight's vote? Do we need to vote on this change order? Or, I mean, that's how we reported out in the committee, that it would be on our board meeting agenda for this. Does it need to be on action item C?
Yes.
Add that language right now, right? Yeah, action item C.
I'm sorry, I didn't recognize that before the meeting. So we will add that to the action items.
Thank you.
Anything else, anybody else? Okay, thank you, Dr. Walker. Okay, now we will do the policy committee. Dr. Novak, would you share with us the policy committee?
Yeah, we met on August 23rd, 1 p.m. via Zoom. Committee members include myself and Jamie Hilfert. I was absent. Others attending with Matt Wandry, Conceit Hurley, and Mary Moss. We discussed policy 3231, outside activities for staff. AG 3231, participation in political activities. policy and AG has been updated to reflect current practices and to compile all language in one place in order to avoid duplicate information. In addition, there was a small change to reference a related administrative guideline as requested by a committee matter. Clarifying language was also added to the policy. Policy 5730, equal access for non-district sponsored student clubs and activities. As policies and AGs have been updated to district sponsored activities, non-district sponsored activities policy is now being updated to align with current practices. AG 7440, plant security. As there are no changes to the related policy, this guideline has been created to compile all security procedures in one place, including key cards, badge, and physical keys for both LCS and non-LCS staff members. As a guideline, it does not require board action. Procedurally will update the remaining board in an upcoming weekender. Policy and AG 9160, public attendance at school events. The AG had a few changes to clean up and clarify the language. The policy had removal of some language in order to align with current practices. It was the consensus of the committee to recommend moving policies forward for our first reading at tonight's board meeting, and the meeting adjourned at 1:34 p.m.
Any questions or comments? Thank you, Dr. Novak. So that concludes our report section for this evening. So we will head into our action items. So the first is our consent grouping. Approval minutes of August 14th, 2024. First reading of board policies. Policy 3231, outside activities of staff. Policy 5730, equal access for non-district sponsored student clubs and activities. And then policy 9160, public attendance at school events. Are there any consent groupings anyone wishes to have removed?
Don't you have LC? That word consent.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, okay.
I make a motion that the reading of the minutes be waived and consent agenda items be approved as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a support. Dr. Novak?
Aye.
Mr. Lipka?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mrs. LeBar?
Aye.
Mrs. McKenna?
Aye.
Ms. Hofer? Aye. Ms. Putnam says aye. Motion carries. Okay, then we have resolution for cooperative agreement between Lapeer Community Schools and Shaftfield for clubs and extracurricular activities.
I'll make a motion to cooperative agreement between the Lapeer Community Schools and Chatfield for student clubs and extracurricular activities at both middle school and high school level be approved as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a support. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, hearing none. Dr. Novak?
Aye.
Mr. Lipka?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mrs. LeBar?
Aye.
Mrs. McKenna? Ms. Hofer? Ms. Putnam says aye. Motion carries. And then last, we have the bond change order number 16, bid pack 5.2, new water main lost garage.
I'll make a motion that the bond change order number 16, bid pack 5.2, new water main at the bus garage. Issue, change order to Eagle Excavation to install a new water service at the bus garage for an amount not to exceed $14,385.77.
Okay, I have a motion and a support. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. Dr. Novak?
Aye.
Mr. Lipka?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mrs. LeBar?
Aye.
Mrs. McKenna? Ms. Hofer? Ms. Putnam says aye. Motion carries.
Before we get to our presentation tonight, I want to let Jennifer, Madison, and Lindsay know that you don't have to stay for the entire meeting. So you have.
Run now.
Jennifer, been there, done that, have a great night, so no judgment.
That's true. Thank you. Okay, so I think that concludes our action items. So I will hand it over to you for a presentation tonight, Superintendent.
Thank you, Madam President. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Shadskowski, and is Mr. Cross also going to be assisting this evening?
No, Mrs. Taylor.
And Mrs. Taylor. We got a full slate of presenters for our district athletic update. So, without further ado, Mr. Skowski, Mr. Cross. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Wondry, Madam President. When Mr. Wondry
already talked about tonight was going to be the most amazing night because this presentation, I was talking about this because I'm going to monopolize.
Chad, that's a secondary reason why this is our favorite meeting, and I apologize for failing to mention that at the outset.
So,
I think we'll all be out in an hour and a half.
okay.
Just saying.
Clock starts.
Note that for the record.
I'm excited to be here tonight and with Rich and Sarah. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. We're going to talk about where we're at, and where we're headed. Have some good stuff for you guys tonight. So, without further ado, we will.
Oh, it's over.
I know.
The suspense is killing me.
There we go. So for the 23-24, we're going to talk about some of our accomplishments, a little booster club update, and what our goals are for this upcoming school year. So just kind of a recap of who works in our athletic department. Not a whole lot has changed except for Austin Green is taking over from Mike Smith as the LHS supervisor. He's been a great addition. He came in last spring and kind of worked side by side with Mike as Mike kind of finished out his tenure there and then retired. So Austin is a great addition. He's also been a football coach with us for many years. I'm a peer grad, and I think he's really taken to the role. And we're already starting to see some leadership qualities coming out of him and wanting to do some initiatives and building on some of the connections he has in the community. I think is really already starting to see that happening and helping that department. So, 23-24 year in review. So, first and foremost. We get to do a lot of cool things.
I didn't even know I have a tennis
There
shirt
you
on.
go. We had our first Saginaw Valley League championship in tennis this last year with our number 2 singles, Maya McKenna. First time. If you know anything about our tennis conference, it is a very, very difficult conference. Midland Dow, Grand Blanc compete for state championships every single year. So for a young lady to go undefeated, up until we got to regionals and win the number 2 singles and the peer, and when we don't have near the resources that some of these other communities do, is outstanding. I mean, we couldn't be prouder to have one of those champions in our walking halls, which is back for another year. So that's really, really cool.
Expectations now. Should not sneak it up on anybody.
We're also the softball district champs. We got to host the softball districts this last year. Our girls had a great weekend. Played a very tough game in the last game of the championship, and we were able to pull it out after being down 5-4 in the 7th inning. And they were actually at home; they were the visiting team, so they didn't get to bat last in the inning. So they were up the entire game, and their opponent got ahead of them, and then they came back and some really cool things to win that. State qualifiers. We had a number of state qualifiers last year. It's probably one of the largest lists of state qualifiers that we've had in a long time. So we had a number of state qualifiers, whether it be track, wrestling, or cross country. We had kids who really competed really well in individual competitions and did a great job last year. We also, we talk every year about what we do as a district and trying to showcase our buildings and our facilities. We've hosted everything from semifinal football to districts and that kind of stuff. But last year we hosted for the first time individual regionals for wrestling, which those are some of the most intense events because those kids who win at that event go on the stage tournament. So we usually host in districts, but Joe Wood was really wanting to host regionals because that's kind of when the best part of the season rolls around. So, and then obviously we hosted our districts, and then we're going to get into some ACAT mentoring. So that's our athletic coaches advisory team. We did a lot of good work last year to set some foundations for things you guys are going to see moving forward. Well, let's talk about middle school.
Thanks, Chad. What we see up there is a kind of continuation of things that we're working on for the last few years. As we have for the last several years, hosted our Greater Flint Middle School League cross country meeting over here at CFI. Our cross country coaches have done a great job with that. They set up a different course every year, and it's always unique, it's always challenging for the kids. It's a pretty big production as well. We have all 17 league schools attend. We get over 500 kids competing, and over 1,000 spectators. So it's there's a lot of bodies moving around over there, but we do a pretty good job with it. Really all credit goes to the coaching staff who do an excellent job of setting that up and maintaining a great event. We actually plan to host it again this year. It was a great chance for us to show off our facilities over at CFI, along with some of the things we've been doing over there. And it's a good way to make money for our middle school cross-country program. We can buy them some tents, win sales, pretty good stuff with your branding on it, so it's a pretty good return on the investment. We've seen increased participation across most of our sports this year. You'll see that as Shag goes through the numbers in a few slides later. And we need to really implement that 6-12 vision across all sports, a big part of which is kind of the building block process of doing the off-season stuff. Again, we want to really start building on that year-round mentality at a young level. Again, that was a lot different in 7th grade versus you're going to your senior year, absolutely. But again, whether it's the weight room, through camps, but really especially through the district conditioning process, we really want to get kids to kind of fall over that process, right? So to like kind of like grind, lifting, kind of building scrappy, mentally and physically tough kids. You can't always control what talent level you get from grade to grade, from class to class, but if you have that strong foundation in the strength conditioning program, which we have had in the period for a long time, it really helps you build the kind of kids that you want, that you don't necessarily get coming through the door, but you really those kids to build, to improve, and focus on that year to year. We also offer a number of summer programs this year. We have Kent Meister doing a number of girls basketball camps in middle school and some open gyms. Tony football program had 2 sets of camps. They had a middle school football camp that last week at school. They also had a youth camp in July, which incorporated middle school age kids. You got Kent Lewinsky and cross country doing their summer run club. We also have volleyball putting on their summer camp for the youth in the middle school, and later June as they have it as well. So we're looking forward to another great year. Again, trying to continue to keep these kids involved and finding some way for them to attach some positive meaning to school. Because obviously, algebra is what's the funnest part of the day for these kids. But they go to practice, they lift some weights, they go out there and compete, where the blue and green and where the block goes. So we are going to be part of the GFMSL for the foreseeable future. We've done some things to kind of create some competitive balance. We have schools like Van Blank, the biggest high schools in the state. We also have local schools like Owasso, right? So they have a pretty contrasting degree of enrollment. So we've been able to create some competitive balance committees. We take a look at the schedule for each sport and make sure we're competitive across all sports. Some schools excel in certain areas, others not so much. We make sure that we have some balance. That way, people are content with staying in the big league. We have basically the southern half of the SBL and the Metro League all together. So you got it's big Michigan, but communities, some are alike, some are different, some are kind of in between. So that's kind of our philosophy is to make sure to keep that league together because it's pretty competitive across all sports. Just making sure that it's not being too top-heavy or lopsided in the way.
All right, so Booster Club, once again, is a huge piece of what we do and helps out a number of kids. This last year, you can see they gave out over $14,000 for athletic programs. That's through a number of different ways where teams come in and ask for certain products or certain materials that they need within their program to teams working in concessions, just like we had last Friday night with cross-country working concessions, and they get a piece of the pie at the end of the year when concessions are all done that. So, a great number to give away. They also give away scholarships at the honors convention, a convocation at the end of the year. They gave away 18 scholarships at $400 apiece last year. In addition, the big awards that we give out for senior of the year, leader of the year, that gets up to 6 big awards we do. The Booster Club stepped up to the plate last year and put $1,000 for both a male and female athlete going forward for those programs. So they thought that it was kind of crazy that we didn't, out of the 4 awards, those 2 didn't get any type of monetary award for it, so they put $1,000 for that award for the year. So those 2 students who won those last year, Zach and Zach and support Bill, got $1,000 towards their efforts of going into post-secondary school. So, like I said, funds are raised through a lot of different things. For those of you guys who made Strike Day, Field Strike Day, which is all of our programs are there at the stadium. 2 hours, it was fun, bubbles and big crazy music thing going on. We got
Windiest day
huh?
of the summer. Windiest
Oh
day
yeah,
of summer.
yeah. those bubbles went across the top. I thought it was like a football game to see what happened. Originally, we get to kind of just, relish in just talking to the different kids and seeing all the number of kids. The cool thing I thought this year, compared to years in past for that particular day, is usually it's our kids that are participating in the events. We had so many little kids there that they were at the stations and working with little kids all day long. It wasn't our kids necessarily doing it. So, we have about 400 or 500 community members that come out to that. Obviously that's a way for us to try to increase, our visibility within the community, but really let little kids just see our athletes and kind of, looking at them kind of like that superstar type of role. So it's a fun day, and it's just a great way to kick off the school year for the Booster Club, but also it's a great fundraiser for them because it gets so many they get so many different organizations in the community that help sponsor that event, and that's kind of one of their biggest fundraisers they have to do. So it's a really, really cool day. They'll do it again next spring or next summer, so if you haven't ever gone to witness it, it's a fun day, and you can see our kids, mingling with little kids and just showing what we can do. So focusing for the 24-25 school year, our motto is leading the way, so we're going to talk a little bit about preparing for the reconfiguration. That's going to look what that's going to look like for us as we kind of move different buildings. Our ACAT group and our strength and conditioning program. So again, just kind of a summary of the different things we offer. So in 6th grade, we offer cross-country track and wrestling. Even though our reconfiguration is going to have a 5-6 building in 6th grade, we're still going to be allowed to do that. It's a middle school type of setting. Then in 7th grade, we have our baseball, girls and boys basketball, competitive cheer, cross-country, and you can see that when we read that to all of you guys. This year we were able to bring back hockey. We co-opted with Grand Lake. Abe Costas, who was one of the captains on that team, is now playing with a junior team out of the Mount Morris area. He moved on and is playing semi-professional hockey out of high school. So that was a great partnership that we had with Grand Lake, where we had 6 to 8 kids that were able to participate on that team and be big contributors. They were in the starting lineup. The starting line, I think we had 2 Lapeer kids in that starting line for that team. They were relatively competitive across the board.
I would like to highlight that the amount of effort that has gone into trying to maintain support of hockey at the MHSA level, not just here locally in Lapeer, but it's near impossible to find an independent high school standalone hockey team right now, high school of our size or of any size for that matter. Chad and I have been dealing with this particular issue together for how many years now?
8 or 9.
8 or 9, where it's kind of touch and go. Every year we have this kind of reevaluation of whether we can maintain it. But to Chad's credit, he'll call me every year and think, Matt, I think we got 5 or 6 kids and they really need to play. So Chad does whatever it takes to find host schools, and we manage it as the host school for the co-op for how many years? We were the host school.
3 or 4.
Right, so that all that work falls on the host school athletic department, managed in terms of scheduling and officials and coaching and the logistics of that. But if we can find an opportunity for 6 kids, to Chad's point, to play a sport they love, you've got an athletic director who bends over backwards to do that, and it's not easy. And then to have these meetings at the end of each year where, okay, we have enough kids to do it next year, and we got to start making some of those decisions because we've got to now communicate with partner schools that, hey, we've got 6, 7, 8 kids, or in some years we don't have any, or we have 2. And then what inevitably will happen, and we've seen this happen and play out not just here but all across the state, schools make decisions about canceling, parents get upset, they come to us and give us one last effort to try and do it, but schedules, travel, officials, all those things have to be solidified months and months in advance. So every single year it continues to be, and that is just the nature of what's reflected across the state, not just hockey participation, but numbers in general. We're starting to see some drop off of kids. So I wanted to say thanks for all you do.
Yeah, I mean, and when it goes to having good partnerships with other schools, we have a very good relationship with Grand Lake. You think, to Mr. Wander's point, Grand Lake's one of the top 5, 6 schools when it comes to enrollment in the state, and they cannot put together their own team. About 2,700 kids, they can't get 21 or 22 kids that just play hockey. I mean, half the kids that play hockey in their school are playing for the Firebirds because they're coming from somewhere else and playing professional, right? And they have 16-year-old, 17-year-old kids in their building that are elite hockey players, but yet play professional. So the other, 16, 15 kids, there's just not enough of them to go around to do that. So combining with us, and then we had Holly, who was a part of our co-op last year too. We were able to, field a team out on the ice of 22 to 24 kids, but the majority of, our kids got a great experience, and you'll see that that's one of our pillars that we have in our Allen program, positive experience. They got to play hockey for the first time in a couple years, and wear some school colors. Now they're red and black, and we're gonna have to talk to Graham Blank about that. But they got to be part of it, and they were welcomed in. I couldn't tell you how many times they're in. Whether he was in our building, the Graham Blank head coach in our building recruiting kids, or I'm at the games and we're talking between periods and saying, your kids are the nicest kids in the world, and we are so appreciative of having them. So it speaks volumes of what we're doing here to raise kids, to be great sports, have great sportsmanship, and also be competitive.
A bit higher level.
Yeah, a bit higher, yeah.
Where do they practice at?
They practice at Crystal Field House.
Oh,
So that's another, that's another piece onto it too, is like, they're paying, if we put, the money that we would have spent on a hockey program, we paid to Graham Blank saying, hey, this is how much we spent on hockey, so that our kids wouldn't have to pay ice time, so that we wouldn't have to pay officials. We bit the bullet to try to help facilitate so that cost of hockey can be so crazy, that the cost is so minimal. I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, each kid didn't have to pay more than $600 to play hockey last year. That's on average. You play travel hockey, like 600 a week.
yeah.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So, for our kids not to have to pay that much, is, phenomenal. We play 25 games in a year, and that's just pretty cool.
Fort Huron doesn't even have a program anymore, or
They have a co-op.
they do?
Yeah.
Because they used to be huge.
Yep. Davidson has a co-op. Flushing, Swartz Creek, Brandon, all those schools in the Flint area, they're all co-op with a number of schools. So, but it was great to see you back. I got to go watch a couple games. It was a lot of fun to see our kids compete.
Awesome.
Middle school, Rich, talk a little bit about that.
As we continue to prepare for realignment next year, this is my second year over at Zimmer. We plan to move to a traditional 7th and 8th building next year, so it'd be nice to have both 7th and 8th grade, both classes in the same building. Currently working out some things like, we're gonna have 80-something football players, and that's locker room space for them, so we're looking at modifying some of the athletic spaces on the building to accommodate for that. Hopefully, when we have that remodel over at the high school weight room, we'll be able to take some of that older equipment, find a smaller space for a few racks and some weights, to continue that focus and that commitment to strength conditioning at the middle school level. Currently, I oversee our 6th and 8th athletic programs. I do work in accordance with deans and other building level administrators for coverage of all of the events.
All right. So leadership in the second on the ice, so I was very fortunate to win the nomination of being the executive director of the SPL last year.
Which made you miss the meeting, and they nominated you.
I wasn't bad. I wasn't bad.
Are you nominated again this year?
Yeah, it was unanimous.
Yeah.
The other
I
part is when you're there long enough, by default, I don't think there's one other AD that's been there longer than me in the SPL. So yeah, getting to see all the SPL was very eye-opening for me last year. We got to do a lot of cool things, and we'll talk a little bit about them, but I think the coolest thing, one of my initiatives last year at the SPL was to create a coaching summit. So in June of this last year, let me back up. In the fall, and for some of you guys, you did, like Craig, you might have been to, like, we used to have a big banquet in Franklin to kick off the year. We would recognize coaches of the year, do a big dinner, and whatnot. It started to become sparsely attended, kind of like athletics in general. Is that, when I first started here, we had over 300 coaches attend that. Last year, we had 180. And it's because of the timing where it's at, so a lot of fall coaches don't participate in it. A lot of people don't see a whole lot of what are they gaining out of it. So we decided that we wouldn't do that going forward this year. Instead, we were going to do a summer program where we would offer some PD to coaches to help improve their skill set, to give them some new ideas. So last June, we had a 1-day session in the morning. With the help of the non-pleasant lady, Jason McIntyre. We Saginaw Heritage hosted a morning session where coaches that were at the middle school level, sub-varsity coaches, kind of got the do's and don'ts of just becoming a coach and having conversations with parents. So we got a 3-hour session where Jason stood up on stage and talked about things that do Mount Pleasant, but really the stuff is very similar to what we do across the board. It was, how to have conversations with kids when you're cutting them, how to have conversations with parents when things aren't going right, making sure that you're getting informed, making sure that you're doing capturing, which we truly believe in here in Lapeer, with the image say and how that can help you. So we did that in the morning. We had a few of our Lapeer people attend that. And then in the afternoon, instead of doing this big banquet that we did on Franklin, we had a 3-hour PD session. So we brought in Rob Miller. For some of those guys who've been here before, Rob Miller is a proactive coaching. So if you see that on Facebook, they're really big on Facebook. He's from the Thumb area originally. He's out of Kansas City now. He talked about trust, and that's one of the books that we talked about with our coaches. So we talked about trust and did 7 ways of leading leaders within your program as a breakout session. We brought in Will McCoy from the MHSA to talk all stuff at MHSA. And then we had a panel of former ADs and retired ADs that talked about kind of stories that they've gone through. So coaches could rotate. Everybody had a general session with Rob, and they got 2 breakout sessions, and then we fed them dinner and did the whole award banquet so that they're being awarded for the end of the year for everything that they had just accomplished. So it was a great way to kind of kick off the summer. We will continue to do it. We did it at the Horizon Center. The Saginaw, so they served a great meal that had a great opportunity to move around their complex so that we could have a number of different breakout sessions. And the feedback we got from our coaches was pretty phenomenal. So we put out a survey. I think we ended up having 260 coaches attend that. So from where we were in the fall to where we were in the summer, we had a number of people attend because they were getting something out of it. It wasn't just going and sitting in the banquet, hearing some random dude from the school that they're not a part of talk about these people. So they had an opportunity to take some stuff back and maybe implement it into their program. So talking about this, which is a cool statistic. When you look at our league, you can look at how successful the SVL is. So we've had a lot of conversations, and we're going to talk a little bit about it here in a few minutes. But whether Lapeer stays in the SVL or we form our own conference, we go into the OAA, we've had a lot of different conversations over the last 10 years I've been here. But I think this statistic stood out to me that we're right where we need to be. 25 district champions were out of the SVL last year. 19 regional champions and 2 state titles. We're competing against some of the best schools in our state that are competing at a super high level. We're exactly where we need to be. And there's not another conference I think that can compare to that. And that's across the board, whether it's football, swim, tennis, basketball. I think if you go down the board of every sport that we offer, in the last 10 years, somebody in our conference can win a state title in that particular sport. That's incredible. I don't know if there's another conference that can say that. So I think we're exactly where we need to be right now. As we decline in enrollment, we're kind of in the middle of the pack now. We're coming back to the middle of the pack when we talk about what our numbers compare to what the other schools are. We're right where we need to be. And we're competing against schools that are competing at high levels, which should up the ante for us to compete at that level. So a couple different things about the SVL that I just want to make sure, there's a lot of rumors. A few years ago, you'll know that Traverse City Central and Traverse City West came into our football conference. They are kind of getting kicked out of their league up in the Big North. They're only in our conference for football. There's been a lot of talk, and if we were at a Traverse City board meeting right now, they would say they would join the SVL heartbeat. Through the surveys that we had with our coaches over the summer, and then through our first AD meeting in August, we basically said right now we're not running in the Traverse Cities. It doesn't make sense. Their problem should not be our problem. A lot of the schools in the north play them anyway, and they're going to continue to do that. But as a league, it just doesn't make sense for some of us to do that now. But with that being said, a lot of what the coaches wanted was a realignment of how the conference looks. So it looks more like a football conference, so it's a north and south. So we're going to kind of pursue that avenue with what some schedule will look like going forward. So the south would be Grand Blanc, Carmen, Powers, Davidson, us, and then one of the Saginaw schools, probably Heritage, because they're a little bit further south than the new Saginaw United School is, just in geography of the town of Saginaw. So we're going to be looking at some different schedules throughout this year, and we'll have some determination, which I'm not sure has to be voted on by the principals, whether we change what that conference looks like. So some it won't change necessarily what we do, but it could, I would say, for some of our coaches, they're going to like it because they don't necessarily like the Mount Pleasant trip on Monday night, which I would agree that's a long trip. You come home, you play soccer up there, and then have to get back into the school on Tuesday morning. So more to come on that. We just want to kind of put that in your, kind of in the back of your minds of, we are looking at what that looks like. And then, you know, the fun part about that is that for those team sports outside of football, we have conference championship games. And what they've done in the past is when we have a conference championship basketball game, one of the schools from each of the different places hosts every other year, but the kids who are all conference get invited to that and they get recognized. So I think that's just a cool way to recognize kids. Soccer would be another sport that would happen. And, you know, so it's a cool, volleyball would be another one. So it's just a cool way to maybe recognize some of our elite kids throughout the conference at the conference, you know, championship game. So we're gonna. So I'm gonna bring up Sarah Taylor. So Sarah is learning coach at CFI. She's, you know, an awesome person that works with our teachers, works with our kids. But a year ago, we brought her on in our ACAT group from the learning coach perspective of helping teach some of our coaches that we have on our ACAT group to help them be leaders and help them facilitate conversations with our coaches. So just goals of ACAT and what we do for ACAT obviously is 4 different things. Provide membership to new coaches. So if you're new to Lapeer, you're getting assigned a coach that is going to help mentor you throughout your season and throughout your year. It's to provide mentorship new coaches to LCS. And so we have new coaches in general that have never coached before. We have coaches that have coached in other places but don't know how we do things here. Right? It's for first-time varsity head coaches. And we've had a couple of those of people who moved up the ranks and never been a head coach in our district. There's a lot of difference in being an assistant than being the head dude, right? You know, so these people that we have in our group can help mentor them and help lead them in some decision making. And that's for our coaches that are struggling. You know, but coaching is you make pennies, right? At the end of the day, for the time and effort you put on through your season, through your off season, and it can be a grind sometimes. So sometimes our coaches just need that other person to be in their ear as a sounding board and help them through a struggle. Or if they're struggling, having conversations with parents, or if they don't know necessarily how to hold how to plan a practice. Because you got to remember, a lot of coaches that we have in just in general now, they're not teachers. They're a person that's working on the line at gym and they're getting off. Well, they've never had to put together, you know, a plan to run a practice or to run a classroom, and that's really what they are. They're instructors. They're teachers of the game that they're participating in. They need help in doing stuff. So that's really what our mentorship is meant to do. We added a couple mentors last year, so you can see that we've kind of kept the original Kevin, Tessa, Bob, Russ, Mike, and Bill have been on our group for the last 3 years. We brought in Chad Kenny, Tony Merlot, and Matt Noah, and Sarah joined us last year. So you can see just by numbers, I think this is a good thing. So I brought you numbers last year, with a lot more people. You can see that we only had to mentor 19 people last year. So we're retaining people. Okay, we're getting people who are struggling and help they need. And we're getting people who are just wanting to be a part of what we're doing, not coaching for a year, taking a year off, and leaving that kind of stuff. So we're retaining a lot of people right now. I think these numbers last year, I think we were 13, 12, and like 10. It was significant. I think we're in the 30s. You know, this is 6-12. This is just the high school. So we're mentoring our middle school folks too. So I want Sarah to kind of talk about some different things. I'm going to pass a handout for you guys, and if you want to talk to
Yeah. You know, when I first started, Michelle McKinnon helped me out that summer, and it was interesting. Well, what can I provide this group, right? I played soccer in high school. I didn't have the expertise as far as athletics, but I mean, then, you know, my husband's coached football for 27 years, and so we've always had those conversations about coaching for sure. And I've coached in the district for 20 some years, and it was a natural fit when we talked about what my role might be with this group and how I could support the group and how we could grow the group. And really, it was interesting because when we first started out, we were like, okay, what do we want the purpose of this group to be? How do we want to grow? What do we want this to look like? And so I really tried to evolve what my role would be, and I had to build that trust and rapport with the athletic coaches, right? Because they're like, what's an instructional coach? What's a learning coach gonna do for me? And so over the year, last year, it was just kind of a trial and error, getting to know them, getting to understand what maybe some of their just what their struggles were. And we found that a lot of the struggle was just reaching out to the coaches. So the mentors are the list of people you saw up there, and they had to reach out to their mentees. And so we tried to not only partner the mentors and mentees with the same sport, they were completely different sports. So you might have like a volleyball coach maybe working alongside a basketball, and so we weren't trying to partner up the sport piece of it, it was the mentorship piece of it. And so my role was basically checking in with a mentor and just making sure they had the tools to be able to talk to them, to be able to work through it, to be able to plan or reflect. And it was interesting because one of the coaches or one of the mentors isn't even coaching anymore. And we sat down and we talked about the person who was mentoring, and we started talking, and it almost got, it was personal, and I don't want to name names, but if I would have had this, it was a compliment to the role and what we're growing, but he said if I would have had this opportunity to talk through some of my struggles and coaching and reaching to the other coaches, I probably would have stayed coaching. And so it was really neat to talk about some of the things that were struggles, and they were surprises to me. Some of them was, it's just a situation where they didn't know how to prioritize what was most important, right? So my role with that person was, all right, so what's important to you? What do you can't do it all, right? When you're a new coach, you're trying to fix everything, and you can't. You've got to think about what's important, what's the steps, what's that planning, what's that reflection, what's that going to look like. And so every situation is a little bit different, and I had an opportunity to just grow that relationship, kind of figure out what their goals were with their mentee, sit alongside them and help them, and then check in with them. How did that go? Were you able to touch base with them? What goals were you able to make? And make it a little bit deeper than just, they want to go in and try and fix it, right? A mentor, your role is you feel like you just got to go in and hear all the problems of the mentee, and then let me tell you how to fix all that. It's bigger than that, right? When you're a mentor, you have to think about, step back and just hear them out, reflect, have them talk with you. And so I give them the tools and the supports, kind of like what I do when Chad and I talk, or when we work with the teachers in the district, or I'm part of the counseling group, and we all just kind of work together to kind of figure out what's the main issue, and not trying to be the solution oriented always, but just how do you get there with all that expertise. I don't have the answers always, right? It's helping everyone kind of talk through that. So I guess that's the power in it, is just helping them, giving them the tools to be able to help their mentee reflect and plan and kind of work towards the common goal.
Right, so so we did a couple different things last year, and what you guys have in front of you right now is that group came up kind of with the pillars of LCS athletics. And so you're not going to see it up on the screen, but it'll be here in front of you. Through that process of kind of design through, we did two kind of booklets out for active coaching. So we bought their entire series of booklets and given out to all of our mentees. So 14 different books, about 20 pages each book with different topics, right? So last year we did Trust and Coach and Inspire. The two books that we kind of focus on, we'll focus on a couple of ones this year. But as you look at this pillars of athletics, these four topics, unity, participation, competitiveness, and positive experience, are what we think here within our coaching staff we need to focus on to get better. Right? So we look at what is unity. Okay? So the cool part about this is the coaching, the mentors came with our ACAT group came with this. In April, we asked all of our varsity coaches to come to a 2-hour work session. Our coaches all came to a night over at CFI. We got these, and they listed what these all mean within the program. Because some of the battles that we're facing is if I'm talking to a 7th grade or a freshman basketball coach, and our head coach doesn't know what our pillars are, because we haven't defined what they are, then those conversations are going to kind of fall on deaf ears, because they might be hearing something from the head coach that isn't necessarily in line with what we're doing. So we had to come up with what it is as a district and as a athletic program that we need to focus on. So our mentee, our ACAT groups came up with this, and then we took it to our varsity coaches and said, this is the language that we're talking about. This is what we need to be looking at when it comes to when you're having conversations with your sub-varsity coaches and your assistant coaches and your middle school coaches, moving the 6-12 idea of athletics. Here's what we're about. So when we look at this, unity was big, right? We've done a lot of good stuff. There used to be silos of athletic programs that we had in here. If I was a part of this program, I really didn't care what I was doing on these other programs. The field days, I think, a great example how that title no longer exists. Strike day is a prime example of how that is. You can go to any game right now and you will see the other coaches from their programs at those games. So when we talk about unity, building an athletic program unites together to learn, grow, and support your athletics. We represent ourselves, our team, and our community. One More Peer. One More Peer has been around since we merged. And we're finally getting to that point when it comes to that piece. Right? Participation. I know April, you talked about participation from the say last month. So this is, we're going to look at some numbers here shortly. And unfortunately, as much as I like to stand up here and talk about all the good stuff, participation is not good for us. We got to figure out how to do it better. And I think we have some ideas on how to get there. But encouraging kids, the students, to participate in more than one sport. We are pulling from the same number of kids to try to do everything that we do. And you're going to see some numbers that are a little concerning when it comes to our participation right here in communities. But daring our kids to be uncomfortable. Go try something that you've never done before. I think that is a big, big thing that we need to continue to try to push. Right? Going and doing something that you've never practiced, you've never done, you've never gotten in the pool, but Lynn's going to teach you how to swim laps. That's going to be how we get some of these kids to do this stuff. Competitiveness, as I said, we live in a super competitive conference. Right? Inspiring students and coaches to be intrinsically motivated, ready to compete within their own team, against schools in their own conference, and at the state level. Get 1% better every day. That's something I've said for the last 2 years. If we're getting better 1% every single day, so we're spending 15 minutes a day honing in our craft, whatever it is, we are going to get better. That's about what 1% of the day is. It's 15 extra minutes. You do that over time, all of a sudden it adds up to hours. You think about what a traditional season is, 15 to 20 weeks. Imagine getting better an hour and a half every week within that 20 weeks. That's a lot. We can get better. The positive experience. Creating an experience where athletes and coaches feel valued, loved, and supported. Embrace the process. Okay? Sports are hard. Sometimes you have coaches yelling at you because you're not doing the things you need to be doing. But also, when that buzzer ends at the end of the game, whether you win or lose, and they're embracing you because of your effort. Or you set a PR, or you're going out for your first score, and you finish without having to stop running 3.2 miles. I have a young lady, I kid you not, who Mr. Walker knows very, very well over at CFI. She was in Maple Grove for a number of years. And Mike Wilsey, our DI teacher, said, you need to go out for cross country and track. She's never played a sport in her life. She's attended every practice since last winter. And she's going to run her first race next week. She is daring to be a that. She's getting 1% better every day. The kid who we would never think would be an athletic good is going to participate in something because we gave her a positive experience. So, in this coaching summit, we also invited Rodney Church from the city because we know that our numbers don't get better if we don't have the involvement in the city. So, what we would like to do, one of my initiatives this year, I'm going to try to make this happen, is we're going to try to have some collaboration with the city and some of our travel programs and do that same type of coaching clinic here in Lapeer for our coaches that are in Lapeer. Whether you're coaching junior lightning, you're coaching national soccer, it doesn't matter. Whatever you're coaching, we're going to provide some opportunity for those coaches to come be a part of what we do and see what we do. So maybe we can start to build some of these numbers so these kids continue on when they get into middle school, into high school. But they also, we're bridging that gap of we need them as much as they need us. Right? So that's a big goal for me this year, is to try to initiate some type of coaching clinic in the year where we're bringing in those outside groups in with our coaching staff so we know that from the time you're in third and fourth grade playing basketball at the rec center, we're starting to implement philosophies that we're running at the high school level. That's going to be how we get better. Our strength and conditioning program will continue to run this. Had another successful summer. Tony, Austin, and Eric ran our summer session. We had to modify it a little bit because of the construction that's going on in the weight room. But we were able to still use the weight room and get a lot of stuff done. It looked a little bit different because we did 3 days a week this year to give kids a little more time with having a 4-day weekend. We used to go Monday through Thursday, but we did Monday through Wednesday this year. Had a successful number of kids, whether it be at the Blue Barn, because we have a makeshift weight room in the Blue Barn, or with the high school utilizing that throughout the entire summer, getting bigger, faster, and stronger. We use our Team Builder app, we talked about that last year. It's a great program that allows kids and coaches to see how they progress. I mean, that's the nicest thing about strength conditioning, is you want to see how you progress. Our weight room updates, I know that you guys are very aware of what's going on with the weight room. One of our big initiatives too is, as that finishes up, Mike and I and Austin and Tony and Eric had all toured a number of facilities over the last year about what it is that we want that weight room to look like, not only from an athletic standpoint, from a PE standpoint, an academic standpoint. Have had some renditions that show Mr. Laundry. There's some really cool things out there, but it costs money. So we're coming up with some initiatives to try to raise money so that when we go and do it, we do it all at one time. We're not trying to piecemeal this thing together over the next couple of years. The flooring, talking with Mr. Rader, we're going to put some awesome flooring in there that's going to allow kids in a lot of different stations. Now it's time for us to go and find some donors and some fundraising opportunities to bring in the equipment. We have a couple ideas that we were thinking about doing and trying to get off the ground right now, which will allow all new equipment there, and it will be tailored to what we do, both academically and athletically. It's going to be a space that our kids are going to thrive in when they're in there. Let's talk a little bit about EPAs.
Part of our ongoing commitment to health and safety of our student athletes and also being in accordance with NHSA regulations. This year we are creating emergency action plans for every team at every level. Within those action plans essentially is a list of who's responsible for what part of carrying out, reacting, and preparing for a potential emergency, largely focused on cardiac emergencies. So who's getting AED, who's calling 911, who's getting the coach's keys and opening the doors to let in the first responder, who's going out there on the mill and flagging them in from the road. And it's more, there's some redundancy there. There's multiple people assigned to each task, and as you know it, the one who's assigned to this might not be a practice day, or God forbid, that's the student who needs the aid. So it is both for giving adults their responsibilities. More of a concern in practice, we might have one coach and 10 kids at a basketball practice or a basketball game. You've got multiple administrators, multiple adults, multiple coaches, so, and obviously training staff as well. So we have these in place for each of our teams at each grade level. There is a sample in there that's created for 7th grade girls basketball. It also has all the important contacts. They would be the district administrators, PM custodians that each building is practicing at. Julie and Sylvia are the district trainer. Obviously, central office, or central dispatch. Some other critical numbers they might need, because as we know, when things go bad and stressful things happen, a lot of times people who are really well versed in that kind of freeze up. So you have something right there with them. It's in the coaching plan or the practice. It's on the scores table at the game. You have something where you can go right to it. Hey, you're this, you're this, you're this, and so seconds count, stuff like that, kind of where that happens. So we are currently developing those. We're in middle school, and we started practice last week, so we can coaches give us names. We're modifying, we'll put stuff in there, and we're kind of running these drills at least once each team starting next week, so we get to know where the AD is, where to go, things like that. So.
What I think with this too is this is now a requirement by the NHSA. This is a requirement coming in this year that they approved last spring, that every team goes through an emergency drill. So to Rich's point, Jill at high school was running on these drills with all of our teams. So and God forbid, in the worst case scenario, the coach goes down, what are the kids doing? And so that could be, if they don't have that knowledge, because they're so used to this, fire drill, they're going to this, X, and then X, and they haven't practiced or anything. So our trainers, well versed in stuff, and it's helping facilitate those across all the different teams. So that'll be a yearly thing we're going to do within all of our programs. So the fun part, the numbers. So as we look at this, you can see the class of 2024 was the class that graduated last year. You can see what their participation rates were. So in 21-22, they were freshmen. 22-23, they were sophomores, and then 23-24, they were juniors. You can see, or 23-24, they were seniors, juniors and sophomores. You can see the number always decreases a little bit. One of the things I love about our district is we offer a lot of opportunity. A lot of kids who haven't spent enough time probably in the gym, on the field, in the weight room, find other lifestyle like that in the district. Whether it's taking AP classes, whether it's dual enrollment, maybe they're just tired of playing sports. You can see that decreases. So at our middle school level, you can see that Sixth grade is down to 2030 class. It's scary to say that it's a class of 2030, but that's the sixth grade class. So you remember we're only offering 3 sports at that level. I can tell you the first time we offered that sport, or we offered those, I think our number was like 2%. We only had like 6 kids participate in our sixth grade events such as wrestling, cross country, and track. Right. Middle school, we have a larger percentage of kids participating. I think we don't have they're trying out for a lot of different things and getting exposed to a lot of different things at the middle level. So, our numbers aren't, I would love, when we talk about what our goal is, I would love for us to be at 50%. I think that's a heavy goal. So, at a building of 400 or 1,460 kids, we're talking, 780 kids that need to be participating in something. That's a lofty goal. Right now we're, 325 kids. So we have some work to do there, right? How do we do that? It goes back to some of the things we talked about, creating some opportunities with our rec center, making sure that kids are participating. Even talking with Rodney, his numbers are, they're offering 300 basketball because they don't have enough kids to play 5. It's in, so it's not just, things we're doing here in high schools or middle schools in our community. Where are these kids? Why are these kids not participating? But it goes back to that positive experience too. We need to provide kids are having a good experience, they want to continue to be a part of it.
Don't you think some of it though is travel ball, like, travel basketball, travel?
I think that's part of it.
Team.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think it's a little bit of that. I think
that's a year-long commitment and time to something.
I think it's specialization a little bit too, where I'm going to play one sport only, where I used to play maybe 2 or 3. When we look at our 3 sport athletes, you'll see that number is a little bit better, but we're still drawing from the same number of kids and trying to get them to do everything that we possibly need them to do for us to be competitive. But yeah, absolutely.
And I think they're traveling even in that case, they're going to Ohio, Indiana, and some of that takes a lot of time.
Yeah. So here's our kind of so our scholar athletes. So this is our LHS scholar athletes. So kid must maintain a 3.5 or higher GPA and have finished up the season in good standing. So this could be any kid, from freshman up to senior year. So we had last year, you can see the class of 2024 had 42 kids that were named LHS scholar athletes, all the way down. So when you look at our numbers of having about 350 kids, we have almost 325 kids. We have almost half our kids that are maintaining the student athlete portion of what they do, right? So the student piece, but also the athletic piece. This is a SVL scholar athlete, so they have to have a 3.3 or higher, and they had to have lettered in that sport at the varsity level the year before. So the freshman class obviously wouldn't have anybody there, but we have a number of freshmen who lettered at the varsity level last year, so their number will be in this piece when we come to it next year. So you can see, about a third of our kids are maintaining that. We have a number of teams over the years who have been all-state scholar athletes, that kind of stuff. By multi-sport athletes for male, you can see those numbers look a little bit better. So our 59 kids from the class of 24, 27 of them were multi-sport athletes. Right, but that goes back to we're drawing from the same number of kids trying to maintain all those sports. We got to figure out that number 59 has to increase. When we graduate 360 kids, only 59 boys are playing a sport. We got to figure out how to reach those kids. Right? So you can see obviously the middle school level is a little bit higher just because they're being introduced to it, they're being part of the school team for the first time. But at the end of the day, we really try to push multi-sport athletes. I would say those numbers look fairly decent when it comes to the kids doing more than what we do. Our females, not a little bit low percentage-wise, but same thing. Look at the numbers. We're struggling. It's just not us. So when the state comes out and says participation is up in the state, we're kind of the outlier.
Yeah.
We're kind of the outlier. Why is that? That's the big question that we have to solve within our programs.
Well, you look at the last, let's say, 10 years, house league hockey, gone, right? LCS flag football league, how many years is that a major producer of young athletes, right? Right, rec leagues, our church leagues.
Here's a regular one. Lapeer baseball, youth baseball. There's not a team in Lapeer that plays for Lapeer baseball. They play out at Elma, play out at Advent. used to be huge. There's 800 kids out at Elwood, so. So, I mean, we have a lot, I mean, it's not just our problem. Like, and Rodney recognizes that, like, we're trying to figure out a partner, how do we make this better for our kids? Travel definitely, recommend is one of those things that does it. I think, another thing is, we all have these phones, instant gratification. I think that's a part of it too. Sports are hard.
The good thing is that those kids out in Elba are our kids.
Yeah.
Kids that are out at Mayfield or Attica are our kids. The kids that are down in Livermore are our kids. They're just on the outskirts, right? So they're our kids.
You can't get coaches either.
Can't get coaches.
During Gray's era, they had like 5 or 6 men, like fathers that stepped up and had them play baseball. And then you lost that coming through because you didn't have those people, those coaches coming through and taking those kids back. There's a part of it too.
We've had a girls basketball varsity position open since May, and we cannot find a girls varsity basketball. The time and effort, the energy that goes into doing those things, build a program, are hard. So we have work to do. Goes back to our pillars.
We
Positive.
have 2 new teachers here tonight, so
Yeah.
any interest? This is what happens when you stay.
Soccer, she'll do soccer.
So,
Shut up,
are
Mom!
we heading in the right direction? Absolutely. Our unity amongst the coaching staff that we have right now is phenomenal. Top notch. Everybody's on the same page. But we need more of those people to be a part of what we're doing so that when you look at this, as you see, there's arrows, right? It all has to happen so we get that middle piece. That middle piece is us. Right? So, we got work to do. But I think we're heading in the right direction. I really do. I think this ACAT initiative is really good. Some of the stuff with the bond stuff's going to be really, really good. The reconfiguration is going to be really, really good. I mean, we have some really good things that are going to happen in the next year that I think is going to help set us up. The 9th graders are going to be high school. That's going to be huge. So the 9th graders are going to be together in middle school. We're going to create that middle school environment. That's going to be huge. Right? So we are headed in the right direction. We just need a little more time to get where we can do. So with that, how long was it? Quicker than last year.
It wasn't. Thank you, Chad.
Thank you.
Questions?
Anybody have questions, comments?
It's great. I love the ACAP program. That's huge.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say that I honestly look forward to your athletic presentation every year. And I have to say that this is an area that I was like, it is my mission somehow to help improve athletics at Lapeer. We are a big district still. We should have outstanding members, like you said. So I just want to, one moment, give you a little, how proud I am of you, actually, Chad. Taking the vision of ACAT, taking like just a little thought in our minds and turning it into something absolutely phenomenal, has been amazing. And bringing in the last piece that we really needed was what we do best in this district with our coaches. That was just a phenomenal ad, and I'm so glad that you guys executed that, and it's morphed us into something that we really need to help us get us to the next level, to get the students that we know that we have in our district,
Right.
that are just, we need to get them out of their shell and come into the program, right? So I just want to give you your leadership to really take this where it needed to go. I just want to thank you, because I think that's been phenomenal, and I really do. I think we all appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys allowing that. I've been a part of a few boards, within my time that I'm just like find out how excited an important piece. And every one of you guys have always had some comment or something to say, and I appreciate the support, whether you're attending games, helping in the concession stand, buying me breakfast.
Whoa. Breakfast.
But it truly means a lot to me, because this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I know I'm here to do. But at the end of the day, I know there's still work to do. We're not there. We got some room to grow. And that's our goal, is we're gonna bring in good people to help us grow. And with your guys' vision, I appreciate just allowing that to happen.
So one question I do have is, because you know we like to be a district of leaders.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And because you are the director of the Saginaw Valley League, have you shared this ACAP with them?
Yeah, I have. So that's kind of how this whole coaching summit came to fruition is when I talk about what we do in our own program, with the ACAS, trying to do that. So next year, one of our things I would like to do within that PD is talk about how they can build some mentorship within their own program. I think the state, interestingly enough, has it now for new ADs. Last year there was 119 new ADs in the state of Michigan. First time ever ADs in the state of Michigan. 119.
Wow.
And so the state created an initiative very similar to what ours is, and that they took former ADs who had retired and set them up with a number of those ADs and was a mentor for them across the board. And so I've talked about this for the last 2 years on what we do. Whether somebody heard it or not, I don't know, but the state is now doing it at the state level with first year ADs.
That's great.
119, that's scary. That's about
That is
about a sixth of all schools in the state, 7 of all schools got a brand new first time AD last year.
I have one thought that I just want to share about participation. Have you ever thought, I think I mentioned it before, but have you ever thought about bringing back some of these alumni kids that went to play college and have them in a lunchroom in 6th grade, just at tables talking to kids about, their experiences and just inspiring them of what they could possibly do in the future.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I just think it would get more to their level than a teacher or somebody else.
We wouldn't necessarily talk about alumni coming, but we're talking about current kids that are on these athletic teams going down and doing like a Friday wheel along with kids and their jerseys, that kind of stuff. But a great idea that I will make sure that note that down.
I'm just, again, trying to.
Any way that we can bring them back and have them be a part of our story, I think is super important because it's their story too.
You bring back somebody, Wayne State, right? Football shirt, football jersey, and comes in and they're gonna look, right? They're gonna go, hey, I went to school here, right? I don't know.
I think what was powerful is that when we got together with the head coaches, they brainstormed ways that they could unite, they could bring about participation. So they were thinking about the same types of things that you were thinking about, all the ways that they could bring about better, higher participation rates within their particular sport. And so, we've got a whole list. They went around and wrote on all these anchor charts and just really had some brainstorming about how can we increase each of those areas because they all do influence our athletics, and it was powerful.
So with, obviously it starts from young, right, and working with Rodney. Do you think some of the problem could also be financial?
I think so.
Should we look into a scholarship setting up to help families or something?
I can tell you this, from them participating, so we have a pay to participate at high school level. So it's $150 for a kid to participate at high school level. We're having sports to play. And I've said this for years, and I think it's coming from Mr. Wander, is that I tell families this, because we tell them when we meet with them, and you've heard my conversation with people, is that money is not going to be the reason you don't put a green and maybe jersey on. We will figure it out at that level. We've had a number, Rich talked about it, Tony held a number of football clinics this summer. And, although there was a fee to it, there were kids who could afford it and they still got to participate. I can tell you, I think that's the one thing we're really good at is if a kid wants to sign up and whether it be AP class, or whether it be an athletic event, or whether it be a clinic that we're putting on, money is not going to be an issue that's going to pay for that. From the rec center standpoint, I'll talk with Rodney, but I don't think his fees are
They're not expensive.
But $20 to somebody might be
It's
hardship.
hard for others.
Yeah, we're going
Exactly.
on 13 or 14 years of not charging our own students to come into our athletic contest, right? So if you're a family of 5 or 6 wanting to go see a big brother playing a football game, that's a huge financial commitment. Pay for mom and dad, the kids, and hot dogs and everything. So we're going on, I think this is year 13 or 14 of not charging our students to come into our athletic contest. So Chad is 100% right. We don't let money be the reason families or kids don't participate.
It'd just be nice maybe with Rodney and
Yeah, I'll talk to
partnering.
you. Yeah, absolutely.
If that's one of the biggest things, maybe that's where we can figure out how to help that. I don't know.
You get soccer nets and basketball hoops, people's driveways. I mean, yeah, I think you guys remember when you were growing up, there was a driveway that didn't have a basketball hoop that I can now remember. I mean, the kids are out there playing all the time, or they have a cul-de-sac, there's a hoop at the end, and it's just kind of the neighborhood's hoop that everybody will play on. You just don't see that anymore.
I was driving home from work a couple weeks ago, and I actually did a double take because there was a bunch of kids in a park playing a football game. And it struck me funny that it struck me funny. When we were kids, you couldn't pay me to be in the house, right? Like, it was torture to be in the house. Now I can't get them outside, right? So that there are some cultural shifts happening with kids and what they do in their spare time that is certainly impacting this circumstance.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Okay, let's go to board member communications. Anybody have any topics?
I do.
Share away, my friend.
Shocker.
Share away.
So mine is somber. I don't know if y'all know, but there was a shooting today in Georgia. And as I read it while I was sitting at work, my first thought was how lucky I feel our students are that they have the ability to have that ALICE training and to feel empowered for our students and staff, that they've received that training, that they aren't going to live in fear if something like that happens. I mean, we all know what happened in Oxford, but we're giving our kids a chance and an opportunity to defend, fight, to stay knowledgeable in and I'm just so grateful that we have made that commitment to ALICE training and given our kids that opportunity. And nobody wants to live in fear. And my heart breaks for those parents of those kids. But I have to think in a positive sense that we're trying to still do something, and I'm so grateful for our commitment and for our board that we believe that this ALICE training and anything that comes up that could be relevant to protect our kids, that we're focused on that. So there's my summer comment. So I wanted to thank you guys for that.
Anyone else have any comments or for today? No? Okay, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam President. Final welcome to our two teachers that came here and hung on for the whole meeting. That's great. I want to thank the board for approving the expansion of the cooperative agreement this evening between us and Chatfield. It was a hard-fought battle at this table many years ago. Our initial, I don't think anyone was on the board at that time. We signed our initial cooperative agreement, but at the time, the thought was we're in a very competitive marketplace for students. And even though Chatfield is in Lapeer right down the road, many high school programs are competing for access to those kids, including Powers and Davidson and Oxford. And at the time, the thought was if we allowed those students to participate at the middle school athletic level with Lapeer, because they didn't offer particular sports at Chatfield, it would help solidify their high school choice of either East or West at the time. Well, that was good foresight at the time of that board, because those opportunities are only expanding. We're getting more requests for those students to participate. So I thank you for your continued support of that initiative. Yes, it is the 24-25 school year. We got the year off to a great start. Here we go. We are going to be coming to the board with transition plan updates as we prepare for the new structure of our buildings and our grade levels for 25-26. That work is beginning in earnest. about for a moment all the things that have to happen, right? As we welcome ninth graders, for example, back into the high school, building the master schedule, the logistics of space, bus routes, transportation, food, feeding the kids, creating a 5-6 building at Rowan Warner, an intermediate type of environment for the first time in our district's history. So lots to do. Teachers, principals, counselors, support staff, administration, working in, some folks working in many committees as a part of a number of those different transition conversations. So lots to come in our normal communications with the board, but also publicly. I want to share our progress with the community. And then finally, another note to echo April's sentiments. As a school district leader, those of us that have been in this business for a long time, it's hard enough when these things happen at any point in the school year, but the second week of school. This is a different, and especially for our new staff here this evening, these are challenging times to be in our business, and all that's expected of an educator today certainly looks a lot different than when many of us came into this business 20, 25, and 30 years ago. And I lament that to a certain degree, because when I was a young 21-year-old first-time teacher and coach, I got a lot of opportunity to focus on getting better at being a teacher and a coach and working with young people. And yeah, that was new, and I was naive and had a lot to learn, but we did not talk about school shootings. Things like COVID hadn't happened. Certainly the mental health issues that are attached to a lot of the stress and anxiety our kids are coming in the front door with every day were just not as prevalent as they were. And having worked in a number of different school districts in my time, that wasn't unique to where I was working. And neither is the experience that the peers are going through now unique to us. This is across the nation. So just asking those who are viewing our community to take the time to appreciate the level of care that goes into working with your children every day. And I shared this message with our staff on opening day, that we have the responsibility as educators, adults, to model for our kids things like grace, patience, good decision making, modeling how adults marshal through challenging times. That's our job as adults. Parents, business leaders, school board members, principals, teachers, bus drivers, whomever. And as parents, we simply ask of you to reciprocate some of that grace with the folks that are working with your kids. We're human beings, we're not perfect, but we spend an inordinate amount of time on LS training, on EAP training, every single possible scenario that could confront a kid in the course of the day, whether it's in first hour, in lunch, or at football practice. School districts now have to think about all the different scenarios to prepare kids for these horrible scenarios. Don't think for a second the added level of stress that is for the adults responsible for training kids and having to have those kinds of conversations with our adolescents. And I say that because I never had to have those conversations when I was a first-year teacher. And so that is a tremendous responsibility to enter our profession carrying. And so grace and patience and a little bit of understanding from the way of the educator is something that we're simply not asking for, we're begging for it because we need your support. This is a community school district. Times like this serve as stark reminders of life hanging in the balance in many of these instances, and the folks that are going to be responding to kids in all manners of their struggles, emotional, spiritual, physical, mental, are those educators. And we just need you. We're not perfect. We don't want a blank check that says everything we do is great, but how we interact, how we talk to each other, how we express anger or frustration or concern is really, really important. And we're human too. So we're going to give that grace, patience, and customer service to you. Let's work together this year to get through what will be another challenging year no matter what. So I thank you for that spirit President.
Thank you, Superintendent Wondry.
Motion to adjourn. Support.
Motion and a support. Dr. Novak?
Aye.
Mr. Lipka?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mrs. LeVar?
Aye.
Mrs.